Grace Yam Mounds when the misunderstanding ensued between the two. That particular area has been a disputed area. The paramount chief of the Woolensey traditional area at a point had to intervene and indicated that none of the two factions should farm on that land. But this time, one faction decided to farm on that particular land, which resulted in this misunderstanding and unfortunate turn of event that we are hearing today. And so, as we speak, the paramount chief, in fact, of the Woolensey traditional area, I'm told, reliably informed that tomorrow he'll be holding a press conference to caution the two factions from cultivating on that land. Hence, henceforth, none of the two factions should even attempt cultivating anything on that land.
And the military personnel you indicate have been deployed in the area. From your sources on the ground, they are still there tonight as we're speaking?
Yes, they are still there, Alfred, because the fear is that there could be a reprisal attack because most of them have fled. And, you know, when they flee like that, they are going to re-strategize and prepare themselves and come. So the military and police personnel in the area deployed by the Northern Regional Security Council will be there until some relative calm is restored to the two communities.
Chris, I appreciate you for this, and thank you so much for the update. I know you have taps on this one, and so we'll definitely be getting some more updates as and when it comes through. Christopher Marco is our Northern and Savannah regional correspondent. This is the information that we're getting as confirmed by him. A few more detail by Christopher Marco there. A deadly clash that is over a land dispute in the Nanumba South District has led to the death of 4 people. As of the last count before we came on air tonight, and you heard him say that the death toll could be more. We're keeping an eye on this one. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. Coming up next here on Ghana Tonight, former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta fights back drugs office of the Special Prosecutor, and the Special Prosecutor himself, Kessie Jabeng, to court. We'll tell you why and really how the whole issue is shaping up right now as we speak, and this is generated in a lot of conversation. In fact, this came up yesterday, you know, as we reported it, but then again, it is developing into reactions because the Special Prosecutor has also reacted to this suit by Ken Ofori-Atta, and my colleague Dennis Boberi Wadam is with me in studio. Dennis, let's get into it from the legal perspective. You're a lawyer, so really, it's good to have you, as always.
Always a pleasure being here, Alfred.
Fantastic. What is Kenneth Ofori-Atta really seeking in this?
Well, so the former finance minister is fighting back, fighting very hard, fighting individuals and institutions, asserting its rights as an individual, and seeking that the courts should make certain declarations in his favor. But Alfred, before we get into what he's seeking to do, we need to reconstruct or reenact some of the occurrences that have given rise to the issues that we are now having to contend with now. Because you recall that when this whole issue came up, we got information that the former finance minister had already been writing to the former chief of staff seeking permission to leave the jurisdiction.
Right.
Because the main contention now is the OSP or the special prosecutor wanting him in person for an interview in respect of some suspected cases of corruption and corruption-related offenses, and he's not in the jurisdiction. How he got out of the jurisdiction, we have found from the document that indeed on January 2, 2025, he had written to the then chief of staff seeking permission to seek medical attention abroad. And you can understand why, because as of this time, they were still the government in power. And you remember he was a senior presidential advisor at that.
That's right.
So he ought to have written to the chief of staff. Then on January 22, he wrote again to the current Chief Justice, Julius Zebra, also informing him about his absence from the jurisdiction. This, according to the letter, was to inform the Chief Justice, even though he was no longer in government, that as a former finance minister, if they needed any information regarding any role that he played when he was finance minister, he could be reached on certain numbers. So he did indicate. So he had mentioned to the former Chief Justice and also the current Chief Justice.
Chief of Staff, you mean?
Sorry, Chief of Staff, yes, of his absence from the jurisdiction. fast forward, on the 24th, that's 2 days after he had written to the Chief of Staff,
yes,
wrote a letter asking that the former finance minister appears in person for an interview. That interview was supposed to be on the 10th of February at the OSP's office in respect of some 4 corruption and corruption-related offensing cases. Now, on the 31st of January, lawyers for Ken Ofori-Atta wrote back to the OSP to inform the OSP that Ken was not in the jurisdiction and that they, as the lawyers, were ready to assist the OSP with whatever information that he needed in respect of these listed cases. That did not sit down well with the OSP, because the OSP insisted that no, he needed to have the former finance minister in person so the lawyers had to indicate by close of February 10 when the minister will be available for that interview. And that failure to do so, the OSP would use all necessary steps to secure his return into the jurisdiction. This happened on February 5. In between, that's on February 7, the lawyers of Ken Ofori-Atta wrote again to the OSP suggesting that it is possible for the former finance minister to be in the jurisdiction somewhere in March. I mean, after March. That explained that somewhere in March he was due for a procedure, that's a surgery.
Right.
So he will be available somewhere after March. Now, that letter, according to the lawyers of Ken Ofori-Atta, was received by the OSP on the 10th of February. Now, pay attention to the events.
Talk to me.
The next day, which is the 11th of February, that was when the house of Ken Ofori-Atta was raided.
Yes.
By men who would later be identified as national security operatives. On that same day, Ken Ofori-Atta lawyers wrote to the special prosecutor to inquire from him whether this raid that has happened was at his instance. Because there was a conversation about bring him, he's not available. So when this raid happened, they wrote a letter asking if this raid was at his instance. According to them, that letter was never responded, or they didn't get a response to that. Only for them to hear in the media the following day a press conference addressed by the special prosecutor himself, in which Ken Ofori-Atta was declared wanted and a fugitive from justice. Now, when you look at the development of all these things...
Which Ken Ofori-Atta has fought, that tag of
yes,
fugitive from justice, he's fought it strongly, huh?
Yes. So the lawyers actually wrote back, and in writing back, they did not just seek to demand that he was taken off the wanted list. They also wanted to clarify the basis for which they wanted a rescheduled date for the in-person meeting. That was on the 18th of February.
Right.
That same day, the OSP announced that the former finance minister was taken off the wanted list and that he was no longer a fugitive from justice. And that by June 2, the former finance minister should come to his office for that particular interview. Mind you, in the letter that was written on February 18 by the lawyers for Ken Ofori-Atta, they did indicate that he was going to go through his procedure between 14th of March to the 30th of March.
Yes.
So he will be available thereafter. So the OSP then said, okay, that is a convenient time. So come on June 2. According to the lawyers, even though this press statement had announced that he was taken off the wanted list, they still saw that he was still declared wanted on their website, which they drew their attention to. Let's put on record that before we came on air, we tried to do our checks on the website. There are 4 wanted persons on the website of the OSP.
4 wanted persons?
Yes.
Does that include Ken Ofori-Atta?
No, Ken Ofori-Atta is not there. However, when you check the official Facebook page of the OSP, you still find that artwork that announced him as a wanted person. It's one of the things that lawyers for Ken Ofori-Atta are saying that should also be taken off.
Okay.
So they wrote a letter and indicated that. So all these events now culminate in what we are having to deal with today, when Ken Ofori-Atta now sues the OSP as an institution and then the special prosecutor himself as a lawyer. To say that the declaration of Ken Ofori-Atta as a wanted person was without basis and that it is unlawful. That even though they have the powers of the police, the conduct or the act of declaring him wanted ought to have been with the leave of court. In simple terms, it means that it has to be with the permission of a court. So he could not on his own, or the office of the Special Prosecutor could not on its own declare him wanted.
I see. Even though some raise the argument that the Special Prosecutor still has the powers of a high court.
But of course, that's the argument they are making.
Okay.
And they are seeking that the court should make a declaration in that respect. So that's how come you see that in the relief that he's seeking. Now, there's also one that relates to he as an individual. That as a lawyer, he's bound by certain code of ethics.
I see. So the relief Ken Ofori-Atta is seeking is against the office and the person of Kessie Jabin.
Yes.
I see.
So in respect of the office, they are saying that no, the office did not have the powers to declare him wanted, the manner in which they did it.
I see.
And that by doing so, it's a violation of his rights.
Okay. How did he declare him wanted? Let's just do a quick recall. Let's look at the Special Prosecutor at that press conference that he declared Ken Ofori-Atta wanted, and why the Ken Ofori-Atta is seeking this relief in this lawsuit. Take a look.
OSP is unconvinced that the purported medical letter transmitted by Mr. Ofori-Atta through his lawyers to the OSP represents a medical report to the effect that Mr. Ofori-Atta is incapacitated or is so sickly and invalid to the extent that he is physically unable to return to the jurisdiction without imperiling his life. The OSP declares Kenneth Nanaya Ofori-Atta a wanted person. He is a fugitive from justice. The OSP will take all necessary legal steps to secure his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP. And this is to Mr. Ofori-Atta. You have two choices. You can either return to the jurisdiction voluntarily, or the OSP will enforce your return. Mr. Ofori-Atta, the OSP did not raid your house on Tuesday, 11 February 2025. Our intelligence.
That's the announcement, and that's what Ken Ofori-Atta is fighting, right?
Yes.
I see.
And in fact, they even questioned the basis for the intelligence, because as you hear from the sound that we just heard from the special prosecutor, he did indicate that based on intelligence, he did not raid the house, yes,
absolutely,
and that it was just a ruse and it was staged by the former finance minister. They raised questions about that intelligence which he relied on, because we do know that the majority leader on the floor of parliament apologized on behalf of the national security, and that whole act was done by national security and not one that was staged.
Right.
So they questioned that. But of course, with respect to the special prosecutor as a lawyer, they said he had a duty to act fairly and reasonably when he sought to change the contents of his engagement with the former minister through a media briefing. This simply means that they had written a letter to him asking if that raid was at his instance.
Right.
And that as lawyers, that was the same medium he ought to have used to engage them.
Not a
but
press
for him to change and use a media briefing to do so, it amounted to a breach of that particular standard as required by lawyers. Now they are seeking for some orders to be made. That for the immediate removal of the photograph and details of the applicants from the wanted list on the website of the OSP. On the OSP website, we are unable to see this. We are only able to see this on their Facebook page. Also, that for a payment of compensation for unlawfully declaring the applicant wanted. Also, unlawful publication of the OSP's website that the applicant is a wanted person. Sorry. And also directing the OSP to post documents that it may require from the applicants for investigations and serve same on the solicitors of the applicant for them to furnish same. This was important because they did indicate that at one instance, the OSP says that he was supposed to answer questions in respect of 4 corruption and corruption-related offenses. And in some instances, they say 5. So they are not too sure exactly how many offenses or issues that he was supposed to respond to. And that is only fair in law that you identify exactly what you want the person to respond to. They also want an injunction to restrain the OSP from carrying out its threat of taking the necessary legal steps to secure his return into the country. This is important because on the day that the OSP announced that the former finance minister has been taken off the wanted list, he did caution that if by June 2, the former finance minister does not show up, he would reactivate the whole process put him back on the wanted list, and take additional steps. And that's how come you see that in today's statement that the OSP released in reaction to this particular lawsuit, they did indicate at the final parts. And for emphasis, it's here, that Mr. Ofori-Atta is mandatorily required to appear in person before the OSP on 2nd June 2025. If Mr. Ofori-Atta fails to attend the OSP on the scheduled date, he shall be re-entered onto the OSP's list of wanted persons, and the OSP shall consider him a fugitive from justice. Whereupon the OSP will cause the issuance of an Interpol red notice in his regard, and also cause the initiation of extradition proceedings in any jurisdiction in which he may be found. This he had said before, and this is what the lawyers are saying, that restrain him from carrying on with this, because this is a threat. They say it's even a threat to his rights, to a breach of his rights.
To a breach of Ken Ofori-Atta's rights.
Yes.
I see. And then stay with me, because at this point, there's a lot that's playing out on this particular case. Adam Senano is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Senano, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. I want to first of all find out from you how all of this strikes you with Ken Ofori-Atta's suit, and now the Special Prosecutor's reply in the statement that we just put on the screen, reinforcing his earlier notice that if Ken Ofori-Atta doesn't get in by June 2nd, he's going to reactivate the whole process of getting him put back on the wanted list. How does all of this strike you?
Intriguing. I mean, the context within which I believe the lawyers of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta got the special prosecutor to take his name off the fugitive list was the fact that he's so unwell. He's somewhere in the US assessing medical attention, and so he needed a certain extended period. It appears that the SP's initial objection was the fact that Mr. Ofori-Atta left the impression that he was permanently unavailable or indefinitely unavailable. And so the SP needed further and better particulars to the extent of when will you be available. And when the lawyers were able to provide that subsequently, the name was taken off the fugitive list. Now, it's very intriguing that somebody who is supposed to be in medical crisis, to the extent that he is not able to show up for questioning, is suddenly in court with 2 cases with his lawyers, chasing the special prosecutor about an issue that actually, under normal circumstances, should be left lying, you know, whilst you pursue your health issues, make sure you are okay. Something doesn't add up. And definitely, it seems as if this is a preemptive strike. It seems as if this is someone, the optics appear as if somebody who is really not committed to showing up. Otherwise, if you had a health crisis, would you be pursuing court cases at this time? To the extent that you were seeking the sympathies of Ghanaians, that the SP is insensitive and chasing you? Honestly speaking, this is intriguing to say the least. And it leaves the impression that Mr. Ofori-Atta is not really committed to showing up. Because they are talking about June. We are in March. If you're in a crisis and your doctors and whatnot have indicated that it's going to take up to June for you to show up, would you be now have the time, the energy, the strength to be looking at cases on issues that have, as far as we are concerned, first of all, the OSP has nothing to do with the raid on your house. And this issue of it's something that you brought on yourself. I honestly don't think that this looks, really like a public officer who, after their tenure, is actually committed to coming to answer the questions. You're a prime suspect in 5 cases. I don't think that the special prosecutor has a right to say, come and let's ask questions and get answers. And you now want to instruct the special prosecutor that there are some aspects of the cases he can start with. I mean, why? Is this a special citizen, or this is a government officer who is still in position and thinks that they can, it's just really not right. The optics are wrong, and they are not sending a message for us as citizens and persons who want to see good governance and accountability. I see,
so
that this is somebody who is really keen on it.
Right. The Ken Ofori-Atta himself, and in fact his lawyers, and by extension the MPP, say that Ken Ofori-Atta is ready. He is ready to show up. He's not running away from any justice whatsoever. And that when he has gone through the process, the medical process, he will come. And the fact that he is facing a medical crisis, in their view, say, doesn't prevent him from initiating a court action, does it?
If you were in a crisis, the kind of crisis where initially you said you don't know when you get back, and the special prosecutor is, being insensitive. If you were in a true medical crisis and you were given a relief, would you, at this stage, be in court? I mean, honestly, it suggests that there's no crisis. There's really no crisis. Do you have any relative or somebody you know who's been in a medical crisis and at this stage has the time and the energy to be talking about 2 court cases on an issue where they've taken your name off the fugitive list? They say, okay, you go about, come back. No, I'm not convinced. And it doesn't matter which party is saying what or who is saying what. The optics, I'm sure any normal, logical person analyzing this will say, there cannot be a crisis we are behaving like this.
Now, I mean, do these latest developments raise any suspicion for you about how this case will proceed?
It's showing up from where you sit.
On one hand is the whole issue of somebody who is supposed to be in a medical crisis, suddenly having the energy and the health and the strength to be sitting with lawyers and starting 2 new cases in court on issues that, are issues that, honestly, if you are going to be fined by June, you will not be time barred in any way. You can still pick them up. Why would you want to be picking them up at the time that you have a medical crisis? It doesn't make sense. But the nature of the cases, where you are saying you don't want the special prosecutor to be able to put you on a list. Why? Are you anticipating that? If in good faith, you are come to answer all the questions, and you know you'll be exhausted, why would you now be saying, first of all, for what has happened, and then any future one? What is that about? Seems to be like a preemptive strike, an attempt to make sure that, assuming that may arise in the future, which suggests it may, you're trying to make sure it doesn't happen. The telltale signs are just not good.
Mm-hmm.
That's my personal opinion. But honestly speaking, the optics is not good. The telltale signs are not good. It will be very difficult to convince somebody like me that there's a full, honesty and transparency and accountability being pursued at this point. Something doesn't add up at all.
I see, but Ken Ofori-Atta is saying that the issues for which the OSP declared him wanted are being addressed by his lawyers. So really, what's the essence of declaring him wanted, for instance?
Please, you don't know the nature of the evidence that the SP has. You don't know the nature of the evidence he wants to pick up, looking at your body language, whether they'll ask you to do a lie detector test or something else you don't know. The responsibility for evidence gathering is the special prosecutors and his team. And how he wants to do it, you cannot instruct him on how he does it. In any case, when they get to court, at the end of the day, the evidence that will either get a ruling or not will be evidence gotten from the witnesses. It's not from the lawyers to the witnesses. The lawyers may be there to guide you and to make sure you don't step over yourself, etc. But at the end of the day, the evidence that must be brought to court would have to be of the people involved. And when you are described as a prime suspect, do you think that the SP has a choice then to not go with the evidence from the prime suspect and expect a good ruling? Don't forget the context, the historical context of cases the SP has already taken to court. They will want to make sure that they have every scintilla of credible evidence. And so you cannot instruct, as they seem to be wanting to do, the SP that, there are some aspects you can start now. It doesn't make sense. And the optics doesn't look well, especially when in the first instance you started out by saying you're indefinitely unavailable, ended up by bringing a medical report that didn't appear to be on the letterhead of the medical facility, then ended up accusing the SP of raiding your house when they hadn't raided your house. Then ended up saying that the SP had said you had cooked up the stage thing yourself, ignoring the fact they said it was either there were two aspects they said. It was either some other people dealing with it or not. I mean, ignoring the facts of what has been put across. What you have done eventually or systematically is just to, as it were, frustrate the SP. So the olive branch that was extended to you from the beginning to be the one who determines when. Gradually, you've just closed that door. And they seem to be on the same trajectory. You know, it wasn't until when they accused the SP of having raided them, and SP knew he hadn't been there and said, look, you either stage it yourself, or it is some other group, or, you know, some fake something that is, you know. And then that just got them frustrated that, look, if you are at every corner, you are trying to find something to say, it means you're not serious. Your lawyers negotiated, you've gotten a reprieve, you've gotten some time, you've gotten a, you know, to go sort yourself out and come. Then you come when you're supposed to be in a medical crisis. I don't think this is going to go too well, the trajectory they've picked. And I don't think that they're helping anybody believe that really there's a medical crisis which Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta must attend to. And therefore, it's not. We are in March. You have negotiated for June.
Right, but one of the lawyers for Ken Ofori-Atta, that's Frank Davis, is saying that, look, the special prosecutors should just keep quiet and respond to the suit and stop rushing into the media to always publicize whatever steps he's taking with regards to this Ken Ofori-Atta matter. That's his advice or proposal to the special prosecutor in this matter.
They're the ones who made this become a public issue. I mean, to be honest, the OSP has the right to give information. Indeed, by the way, maybe they don't know, maybe we need to educate them. In designing and putting together Act 959, the civil society actors who were involved were very keen on ensuring that these anti-graft agencies, I mean, this is one of the major gaps we have seen over time, that the various security agencies, anti-graft agencies, are supposed to be doing investigations. However, no point do they get back to the public to tell us what has happened, what work they've done, what are the results. And so in order to prevent what we had seen with the other existing agencies, the EOCOs, the BNIs, CIDs, what you have, we intentionally put in there a clause that required the OSP every 6 months to report. Truth be told, this was just a principle because in our minds, any anti-graft agency ought to be reporting to the public as frequently as possible to carry the people along. So they should not be deceived by what has become the tradition of other anti-graft agencies and think that that is the expected standard. For those of us in the space where we are looking at issues of anti-corruption, etc., we are expecting as much as often, let the public, let the media be informed, carry us together. So we are quite sure that, and that is the way to wage a war against corruption. So that people say we are not leaving any space for people, you know, to work around issue A or to slip in the cracks, you know. So this is good practice. The SP should continue to do this and even do it more.
Well, we'll see how the coming days will look like on this matter. Tell you what, this is one that we'll keep tabs on and see how things play out. But thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Adam Senanu is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Now, coming up next on Ghana Tonight, the fight against illegal mining is one that is not dying out anytime soon because we're still having videos of the menace and the destruction to our forest reserve. And that's the major issue on the table right now here on Ghana Tonight. As part of government's efforts to combat illegal mining, some 460 river guards have been recruited for training to kickstart the government's Blue Water Initiative. That's aimed at restoring the health of the country's rivers and other water bodies. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofibua, who launched the program earlier today, indicated a total review of the mining licenses regime is underway. Take a look at what he said.
At the heart of why we are here is the Blue Water Initiative. And at the heart of this initiative lies the Blue Water Guards program, which aims to train, this year alone, 2,000 dedicated individuals across the country to protect our valuable water bodies. Water guards will serve as the frontline defenders of our rivers, ensuring that our water resources remain a source of life, livelihood, prosperity for generations to come. The responsibilities of the blue water guards are paramount in the fight against illegal mining, especially for our water bodies. And the focus will be monitoring river health. And let me take the liberties to say that you will see that in the coming week, President Mahama will take steps to also tackle the issues of our forest by launching a major initiative in the coming week, the Tree for Life. We are also in the coming week going to announce major revisions on how we give mining licenses.
Well, that's Emmanuel Kofi there, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, and we'll be joined by Wolasewa in a bit. But let me show you this so you appreciate the level of destruction that illegal mining is causing our forest cover and water bodies, and it's ongoing as we speak. In fact, these are videos that we got from our sources on the ground in the Western North region. This is the Bonkaso portion of the Afao Hills Reserve. This is a forest reserve. These are drone videos taken just 3 days ago. These are drone videos of the Bonkaso portion of the Afao Hills Reserve in the Western North region. The Bonkaso portion of the Afao Hills Reserve is what you're seeing on the screen right now. This is the level of destruction, and you see the excavators are still there in this forest reserve, briskly doing business, destroying this forest cover as we are seeing it. And I want to say thank you to our sources in that area, giving us this information. This is the eyes in the skies, the drones capturing what is happening right now. And this is information that we're going to make available to the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. But this is what is happening in the Western North area. The Afao Hills Forest Reserve, and that's the in Castle around the police barrier of this is Bibiani Bekwai Road area. There also we got information that some excavators were seized, and we'll put pictures of the excavators right now. We understand some excavators have been seized in this area. This is it. Excavators were seized around the Upper Wasa Reserve in Amanasi, and then also Asempaneye area, excavators were seized, and Ariaso Forest Reserve in Mansi. These excavators were seized, as you see on the screen there. So in Castle area around the police barrier as well of the Bibiani Bekwai Road, some of these excavators were seized. We understand almost 40 excavators have so far been impounded by the forest guards in this area. But the drone videos I just showed to you, it captures the extent of the destruction that we're talking about in these forest reserves. This particular reserve in the Western North region, that is what is happening. And we understand that this level of destruction is not one that has been indeed addressed over the period. You see the excavators doing the destruction there. And we are showing this, calling on the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and by extension the Forestry Commission, to do the needful, move to this area if they don't know about it, because this is what we've got from the people on the ground in the area. This is the Afao Hills Forest Reserve in the Western North region. But I want to show you what John Mahama said as part of the 120-day promise, because we're keeping track and tabs on the 120-day promise. This, on the matter of environment and natural resources, this is a fight against illegal mining. John Mahama promised, as part of his 120-day promise, that he's going to ban illegal and new mining activities in forest reserves. What we are seeing going on in this forest reserve obviously demands a lot more action from him if he's going to fulfill this promise of banning illegal and new mining activities in forest reserves. Think about it. The LI 2462 is still on our books. That law that gives, access to mining companies, legal and illegal, to destroy our forests is still on our books. Also, the rollout of the Tree for Life and Blue Water Initiative. So what happened today? Yes, he's ticked the box for this one. on the Blue Water Initiative launch to transform degraded areas into economic and ecological recovery hubs. This has been done. But this one, the ban on illegal and new mining activities in the forest reserves, the evidence that we have just showed to you, it's a lot more work that needs to be done to fulfill this. We're going to go for this quick break. When we are back, our last is going to join us. We'll have a conversation on the illegal mining activities that we're seeing in our forest reserves in this country. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Michelle say, fe.
Different era, better result. Time has changed and time has brought Kel Charcoal Toothpaste, healthy gums, anti-cavity, fresher breath, and it whitens teeth. Kel Chocolate Toothpaste, Sankofa.
Yenchi, Kel Chocolate Toothpaste.
Happy smile.
This advert is FDA approved. Why are more and more professionals choosing Flamingo paint?
Flamingo paint has great hiding ability to cover and transform old walls easily with just one coat.
With just small paints, I paint huge area, meaning more profit for me. Great value for money.
Guarantees durability for all my buildings.
Flamingo paint, superior hiding, superior coverage, superior durability. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Ramadan is here again, and Danube Home, Dubai's leading furniture home, offers you 55% on all products in our showroom from 1st March to 31st March 2025. Locate Danube Home opposite Allied Filling Station at Abelinkwe Junction.
Step up with DSTV and we'll show up by giving you more incredible entertainment.
Going to have a little fun.
Upgrade your subscription between the 13th of January and the 31st of March and get an even higher package for a whole month on us.
Buckle up, here we go.
There's nothing better than putting a little bit in but getting a lot out.
Time to boost some office morale.
Incredible!
When you want to build a future, you gotta know what you want.
Step up and we'll show up on your home of entertainment, DSTV.
Franco, your #1 shop for unbeatable deals and cutting-edge gadgets. From powerful laptops to quality mobile phones and accessories, Franco air conditioners from 1.5 horsepower to 2.5 horsepower, Franco television from 32 inches to 100 inches, CCTV cameras, refrigerators, washing machine, and many more. Visit our website at www.francotrading.com or download our Franco Trading app on Google Play Store or Apple App Store. For bulk purchasing or any assistance, call the numbers on your screen. Franco, the home of quality mobile phones, accessories, and your home appliance.
Hello, my friends. My name is Kel Kids Toothpaste.
Wow.
I was made to be gentle on your gum, but protected. I will protect your teeth from cavity, make your teeth whiter, stronger, keep your mouth fresh all day. And best of all, I'm strawberry flavored. So put on a smile and try me.
That's amazing.
Just try me. That's my job.
If you say so, jump on my brush. Makes your teeth stronger, chicky whiter, chicky stronger. Yay! You did it!
I'm glad you like your new toothpaste. Don't forget to brush both day and night.
Kel Kids, happy smile.
Ramadan is here again, and Danube Home, Dubai's leading furniture home, offers you 55% on all products in our showroom from 1st March to 31st March 2025. Locates Danube Home opposite Allied Filling Station at Abelinkpi Junction.
Olasewa is an environmental activist, also the co-founder of Eco-Conscious Citizens. She's joining us on Zoom right now. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. First of all, I want to find out from you. It appears this launch of the 460 blue water guards to fight galamsey. Do you feel strongly about this as to how much of an impact this will make in the fight against illegal mining?
Sure what difference it's going to make in terms of the environmental, the existential threat we face. As we speak, we know the forest reserves that are hotspots. We know the river bodies where we have the environmental terrorists who are poisoning our water bodies. So what is preventing us from going there as we speak, getting rid of the environmental terrorists and their equipment? I'm not quite sure what we're going to do when we have the water guards. How well are they going to be resourced and equipped? Because we know that some of the environmental terrorists are armed. They've even been able to repel some of our armies. So if you're not going to resource them and arm them, and they don't have the expertise to deal with armed environmental terrorists, I'm not quite sure what they are going to achieve.
I get the sense that because previous initiatives like this, forming task force and river guards and so on, really didn't make any significant impact in the fight against illegal mining. There's some skepticism about this river guards that we understand have just been inaugurated or training underway to do almost the same things as we've seen previously, correct?
The situation is that we know what is going on. You know, you've had so many journalists putting their lives on the line, going to these hotspots and reporting to us. So as we speak, we know what the hotspots are. My difficulty in, answering your question is that we know what the hotspots are. So what is preventing us from going there, having a having a very good strategy, going to the hotspots and getting rid of the environmental terrorists? If we're not prepared to do that now, when we know exactly where they are, why is it that it's only when we have the river guards that we can go there? And I'm not quite sure how well trained and resourced they are going to be to deal with armed environmental terrorists. So if you want to have the trust of CSOs, that it's not just jobs for the boys, which is important, but more important is to put out the fire. Because I am saying that there's a fire burning. The house is burning. The fire is raging. What you need to do is to put out the fire. After you've put out the fire, you can have systems in place to make sure that the fire doesn't start again. That's when you have your guards who, at the site of an excavator or whatever, or some activity on our water bodies, will confront the terrorists or have a number to call so that help can come. But right now, we know where the fire is raging. I'm struggling to understand why we're not putting out the fire, but we are busy training, the water guards to do what exactly? What is preventing us from putting out the fire right now? That is the concern I have. And we already know, for example, that the Ankombra River has been diverted. I haven't had any information that it has been, the situation has been corrected. So since we know the problems and we're not dealing with them, I'm not quite sure what we are doing now. That is my concern.
And in fact, we still have the LI 2462 on our books. And I just referred to what the president has talked about in his 120-day promise to the Ghanaian people. It's just about 75, 76 days into the 120 days. But that promise to ban illegal and new mining activities in forest reserves, at least based on the evidence of the drone videos we've been showing our viewers, this promise is not being achieved as we speak. brisk activity going on in some of the forest reserves across the country. That's concerning, is it not?
Even the low-hanging fruits like repealing LI 2462, we have not been able to do it. Even the previous administration said they were going to do it. I think that nobody is disputing the fact that it's a bad piece of legislation and it needs to be done away with. Why hasn't it been repealed yet? Even the EI 144 that declassifies parts of Achimota Forest, it hasn't been repealed yet. These are low-hanging fruits that it doesn't take much to do. We haven't done that. Yes, there have been some good efforts. We've gone to some forest reserves. We've arrested a few people. We've seized some excavators. But you see, to fight this war, you need to be consistent. You can't just go to a forest reserve, arrest a few people, and then later on they go back. Even the people who were arrested, in Enchi, for instance, our information is that they were granted police bail the same day, in contrast to the democracy demonstrators who were refused police bail and court bail initially. In contrast to the Atronso activists who were accused of burning excavators that were poisoning their water bodies, but they were arrested, denied police bail, denied court bail, and they spent some time in custody. We thought there's a reset going on. If there's a reset going on, we want to see consistent activity. We want to see our armed forces and police and whatever in our forest reserves getting rid of the environmental terrorists, removing their equipment, finding the owners of the excavators and holding them accountable. We know how much damage the excavators are doing. I mean, I'm told that one excavator can potentially destroy 1.5 hectares in a day. So they can do devastating damage to our forest reserve. You see, I'm not seeing any consistency. I'm seeing a lot of rhetoric and, we've gone to 1 or 2 forest reserves, but it needs to be consistent. So declare a state of emergency to enable you to go to the forest reserves. You don't want to declare a state of emergency. Just go to the forest reserve with an army that is well equipped so that it can deal with the armed environmental terrorists. That's what we are waiting to see. We haven't seen that yet. I'm not saying that it's a bad idea to have the blue water guards, but what I'm saying is that the focus right now should be on ending the ecocide. And we are not going to end the ecocide with the blue forest guards. We're not going to do that. How well resourced are they? Do they have enough, the strength to match with the highly armed environmental terrorists? They are young people. Do they have the expertise? No. So we have experienced men who can deal with this situation. I mean, I've heard some army officers saying that if there's no political interference, they are giving their terms of reference. They can end the ecocide sooner rather than later. But the problem has been political interference. So I'm saying that if the political will is there, show us that you are really committed. Go to the Ankobra River. Make sure that the diverted river is put right. You know the hotspots already. Go there, get rid of the environmental terrorists. Then you can simultaneously be training, people who can ensure that the situation doesn't arise again. We try and nip it in the bud after that. But first of all, you need to remove the environmental terrorists from our water bodies and our forest reserve. And that's not what we are doing now. And that's exactly the expectation of many. And I thank you so much. Awula Sewa is the Executive Director and Co-Founder of Eco-Conscious Citizens. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. Join us same time tomorrow for another conversation. My name is Alfred Ocansey, as always. Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint Simply Superior, Kel Charcoal Toothpaste, Happy Smile, and I'm clothed tonight by Kogra Clothing. Do have a good night. Join the New Day team tomorrow morning.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste.